So, the one thing that struck me when I started reading the book is that the pen pictures that sort of jump out, and they jump out quite early on in the book. Like there is a very, very funny pen picture of Babur's father, who was like me, was a man of substance, liked to eat well, clearly, and he used to wear very tight kurtas, like tunics. And when he, sort of took a deep breath or laughed or something, the buttons would pop. So we kind of connect the image of Babur with either a very fierce warrior or somebody who was a mass murderer or an iconoclast or an empire builder. We don't connect him with humor. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, for sure. So when I took up this task to do the entire biography of Babur, I wanted to be as much honest as possible. It should look like a biography rather than being a pamphlet of one wing. Rather, I always say that I don't want wing because I'm a Dharti Putra. I don't want right wing, I don't want left wing, I want to be grounded. So the moment you try to make a pamphlet from a left wing, it will be all about economy. Economy is what drives the invasions, and somehow there is no religious motive. When you will pick a very right-wing narrative, at times it will be only focusing on the invasions and how many people were killed and what loss we went through. But biography is lot more than being a pamphlet. It has to really give each and every substance of that person. Like I say that Babur was actually a very good poet. It may upset a lot of people because we want to just see a portrait of Babur as someone who is coming and demolishing, destroying, killing, making the skull heads and whatnot. But there was the side of Babur too. And why I wanted to focus on it is that if we see the things happening around us in society right now, the people may be just one of our neighbor at times. You may find that something has occurred, the person was just living few kilometers away from you. And so it's very important to paint the villains and the heroes not as a gods or demons, but as just very common people, so that we can really be prepared that it can happen anything around us. So it was more to humanize Babur. Again, this may hurt a lot of people, but when I say that I want to humanize him, I want to show a picture that he's a very human person, and it can't just be any other human who can do any wrong with you. And at the same time, when you are looking at the human picture, you can't say ignore when you are even talking about the biography of Hitler. You can't ignore the paintings what he made if you're talking about the biography. Likewise, I'm talking about Babur. I can't ignore his humor. I can't ignore his poetry skills. I can't ignore him being a very good family man compared to other successors. So I meticulously like to address those things so that they can become like a larger biography than being serving like a pamphlet to anybody.
So the banality of evil is always interesting to notice, because many of the Nazi, concentration camp guards were also, family men. But coming back to this particular book, I'd like to ask you first off, to what extent was the question of his legacy's legitimacy important for Babur becoming a conqueror? Because he could neither be a caliph nor be a khan. Although he was tracing lineage from Amit Timur and from Genghis Khan and so on, as a Timurid he could neither be a caliph nor be a khan. So, and he lost his kingdom. He lost Samarkand. So he was pretty much a leader in search of an empire. To what extent was that critical to him turning into a conqueror and also looking at India?
So it's very interesting because this sickness of becoming caliph starts from, say, Taimur and goes till Akbar. In fact, Akbar also wanted to become caliph. That's why he was sending lot of money, in fact, not bunch of, say, 6 lakh rupees to Makkah to lure the Amirs over there so that he can become the caliph. But finally, one fine day, Ottomans kicked him out and he just couldn't pursue what he wanted to do. But Babur had a lot more than this sickness of becoming caliph or becoming Khan. Not Khan because he hated the Mughals. And it's such an irony that though he hated Mughals, Mughals are the people who come from the lineage of Changiz, and those who come from the lineage of Timur are Timurids. In fact, the empire what he established was called Timurid Gurkhania. Babur also named the empire the same. Akbar called it the Empire of Hindustan. But no one called it the Mughal Empire. And when you read Babur Nama, you will find it quite astonishing if people say that Babur established Mughal Empire, that he's abusing Mughals many times. He says that wherever Mughals go, there is unrest, there is no peace. So the man who hates Mughals so much, we just came on to say that Babur established the Mughal Empire. It's an irony. Now, as far as his conquering is concerned, it was more inspired from two ideas. One was because he lost his father at the age of 11.
Yes.
He grew up hearing the story from grandmothers from both the sides, and the grandmother would tell the tale of Changiz and Timur. Somehow Timur had a very strong influence on Babur. And if one reads the autobiography of Babur, biography of Timur, written by Yazdi, Yazdi makes it clear that one very core purpose of Amir Timur is to Islamize whole of the world. And when he walks into the battle with, say, the polytheist, he takes the prescription from the holy book. He's literally doing it, that what I need to do with them. Now, Babur often quotes Amir Timur in Babur Nama. He says that I have to fulfill his dream. He's scripted that what he's trying to say, but he talks about the dream. Now, the way he treats the Hindus later on, like on the eve of the Battle of Khanwa, he says that he leaves bringing alcohol, so he destroys the pots of alcohol. And he says that the way I have destroyed the pots of alcohol, that's how I'm going to destroy the idols of the Hindus. In fact, he's comparing our gods with the pots of alcohol. So he had that kind of disdain. At the same time, he was a chessboard king, as my book has a subtitle. Now, a lot of people may think that I'm trying to make a hero out of Babur, but the truth is that those who play chess would know that what is the awqat of a chessboard king. He can just go 45-degree right, left, and back and forth. So that was the life of Babur too. He gets Samarkand, loses it immediately, runs back to Andijan because he is a threat, loses Andijan while he's on the way, back and forth goes and on. He has an arch enemy, Shaibani Khan. It's like a Tom and Jerry game, that where the Babur goes, Shaibani follows, Babur runs away, again Shaibani comes. It goes on and on till the time he has come to Kabul, and so he had no territory, he wanted territory, and moving east was making more sense because of the fear of Shaibani. And at the same time, he writes in Babur Nama that Bharat or Hindustan is a land which is full of docile people, as in people who will do anything for you at much ease. He talks about a lot of wealth in terms of gold and silver, flowing gold and silver. So he has in fact carried away a lot of wealth. People say that wo aaye yahi ke aake reh gaye, but this is not true. In fact, Babur carried a lot of money, sent it to Samarkand, Uzbekistan. He did so, and it is said that in Kabul, after the Battle of Panipat, at least one silver coin was given to each and every sword. At least a minimum of one silver coin, and it's happening in 1526 CE. So he had his intent of Islamizing Bharat for sure, which is quite cryptic, but this is how I decipher because of his later sayings in Babur Nama, what he's thinking about the Hindus. And at the same time, of course, he had no territories. Somehow Hindustan looked like a place which has kind of a vacuum, and so he thought to pounce upon it. It made 5 attempts to get into Hindustan.
So it's interesting that you talk about Babur's obsession with Amir Timur. Just a couple of months ago in December, last December, my daughter and I, we traveled to Uzbekistan. So we went to Samarkand and we went to Fergana. I'm telling you this because of the way he's perceived in his so-called homeland. So if you go to Samarkand and you go to Fergana, you will find Babur is a footnote. the main character for them is Amit Timur. It's not Babur. And even if you look at the tree, it's in one corner it is Babur, and then all the Mughals up to Aurangzeb it is mentioned, but very much like a footnote. So is this Timurid obsession with tom-tomming their Timurid lineage a result of the fact that they were actually quite irrelevant to the land of their birth?
So it's quite interesting because Babur got all the fame in Kabul, and that's the reason why, in fact, he wanted to be buried in Kabul. A lot of people say that he hated Hindustan, so he wanted to be moved and buried in Kabul. But because Kabul is a land where he first saw the riches, where he first saw that yes, I can have an empire. He could never get anything, and right from the time of the death of his father, he has been fighting wars with his all brothers, blood brothers, and both from maternal and paternal side. So no one wanted him to become any kind of emperor. Only it so happens that around 1504, when there is no Timurid prince alive, that's when not powerful Timurid prince alive. Then all the princes come together and they say to Babur that can you become our Padshah? So he accepts the offer because he was dying to get it. But they just wanted to have somebody who can face the brute of Shaibani, because Shaibani was always against the Timurids. So that's how they conspired. Now, Babur was always, so the moment he enters into Hindustan, he wins the battle of Panipat. That also with, somehow I felt a lot of sympathy for Lodi when I was reading the way he dealt with Lodi. I never felt that I will have sympathy for Lodi, but the way Babur dealt Lodi, which would come in my book too. So he in fact went on to use idea of human shields against Lodi. Now, all these tactics were giving him some more, showing him as a very powerful Sardar, because that was a period for the Mohammedans of that reason, that more and more brutal you get, more and more deceit you use, more and more you do something just to be one who can establish an empire by hook or by crook. You are the best of the person. So for these reasons, say the northwestern provinces or say the northern India for a while, he started becoming a very powerful cap for them, because they were very worried from Lodi too, because Lodi
was shock and awe.
Yes, actually, and that transformed whole of the thing from Babur, from being a chessboard king to becoming somebody whom people will start to look upon. And it's so ironical that in Afghanistan also people still celebrate Babur, but Babur killed Afghans like anything, despite they were Muslims. In fact, they came to surrender, but he said that because you have surrendered late, so you are bound to be killed, and he slaughtered them. Head towers were made, and he literally counted them 1, 2, 3, 200, and then in the evening he will write in Babur Nama as a poem. So you can imagine the psyche of the person. He kills them, counts them, and writes a poem around it.
Charming man. So I want to ask you about Babur and Shaibani, because that takes part in your book, right in the middle of your book, and it seemed to be a very sort of cat and mouse game that was happening. I want to just go back to the experience that my daughter and I had in Samarkand, and it's very interesting that if you ask Uzbeks today, and they kind of in some way revere Shaibani Khan, because he was the one. They were telling me, the local historians were telling me that the land Uzbekistan came from Shaibani, because he was Uzbek and he was the one who got all the tribes together and all that. So he is given more respect in that land, in Samarkand, in Fergana and all those places than Babur does. So to what extent did Babur have this kind of inferiority complex, do you think, working? Because he was pretty much driven out of his, usual sort of territory where he was playing around, his playground, by Shaibani Khan.
So, because Shaibani's legacies goes back to Babur's uncle. So there was a battle in the late 15th century. between the Mughals and the Timurids. So Mughals are being headed by Mahmud Khan, and on the side of Timurids, it's Ahmad Mirza, who is uncle of Babur. Shaibani Khan happened to be on the side of Ahmad Mirza with the 3,000 Uzbeks. They were fighting for the Timurid side. But Mahmud Khan lures him and they defect. And 3,000 people, and finally the Battle of Cherkik, the Mughals win and the Timurids are defeated. And then Mahmud Khan tells him to start conquering the places whatever Ahmad Mirza has. So his mission or agenda itself becomes, or rather you can say the KRA in the corporate terms, it's just to snatch away anything what Ahmad Mirza has. It goes back to the other Mirzas as well. So wherever the Mirzas are there, that's where Shaibani will come. And because all these people were looking as to Babur upon Babur as his leader, so he was always behind Babur. He thought that if Babur is killed and he's just finished, then maybe that he can further legitimize his thing. And it's so true that he established the Khanate of Bukhara. Then he was a person who established a whole empire called Shaibani. I am missing the name. So established an empire too. And earlier the Uzbeks always used to be like mercenaries, but he gave them a lot of legitimacy. They became like one of the houses, like the Timurids, like the Mughals. And Shaibani Khan, interestingly, comes from the lineage of second son, the eldest son of Genghis Khan, Jochi Khan. And Jochi Khan's son Barke Khan was the first convert to Islam. And Barke Khan and Heligu Khan had a battle on the idea of Islam actually, because Heligu was...
So Shaibani had bigger bragging rights.
Yes, indeed he had, because that's where the conversion became, and the Mughal Empire changed drastically. They were known for their secularism. In fact, in killing, they killed everybody without asking religion. They were a secular killer. But things changed post this battle.
So was Babur also a secular killer? You were just talking about the number of Afghans that he put to the sword. He waged many battles before he came to India. Before the Battle of Panipat, there were several battles that he waged in Shiraz and elsewhere. Did he do the kind of stuff that he did in India? You know, all those mountains of skulls, all that shock and awe. Was that a technique that he used elsewhere as well, or it was only reserved for India because of his religious bigotry and iconoclasm?
So Babur began to make the skull tower from Afghanistan onwards. And the first instance which I came across was when he was moving towards Thal. Thal is a place. And while he's making a move, the instance which I told you a few moments back, that few Afghans did not surrender to him. And they were, I think they were Hajara tribe. And they choose not to surrender, and then he gets annoyed and finally defeats them in some small skirmish. And when they get defeated, he finally butchers them all and slaughters and makes two towers of 200 heads each. So he began from here. The only difference that he did in India and what he did beyond India was that he declared it as a jihad. It was an open jihad by the sword. And one can say that for the matter of politics, it may be to incite his fellows, his soldiers and his comrades, etc. But whatsoever it may be, jihad was certainly invoked, and he compared himself with Ghazni and Gori. He does not compare himself with anybody else, but with Ghazni and Gori. And who are Ghazni and Gori? They are the worst butch chickens or the idol breakers whom we ever saw. Yes. And he says that after Prophet Muhammad, the two people who could come from Tramontana is a hilly area of Afghanistan, who could come to Bharat, Hindustan, fulfill the agenda. We don't know what agenda is talking about, and could have ruled, but they did not rule. But I am one who is going to repeat exactly what they did, but I am going to rule. So he mentions it. So you get it complete clarity that, so it's not that the Muslims did not fight with the Muslims in the past, but they never invoked a jihad. In fact, the Battle of Panipat too, it was not a jihad. Yes. Yes.
So it
So
was against Lodi.
yes.
So here I'm going to sort of wade into slightly controversial territory. Can you talk about Babur being queer, Babur's gayness?
Oh yes. So in fact, earlier when I used to receive the messages in the WhatsApp, I would just see that it's some WhatsApp nonsense. It cannot be true because I knew that Taliban's throw the people from the terrace, and today Taliban may be cherishing Babur because Babur was the first person to attempt to destroy the Bamiyan Buddha. Yes, and after finally the agenda was fulfilled by the Taliban.
Taliban.
But I couldn't believe it. But when I was going through the Babur Nama, I was taken aback because it happened in the period of his first marriage. He's married to Aisha, and then he says that I am not very interested to live with Aisha. But I found a boy, his name is Babri, in the camp bazaar of Kabul. And when I look into his eyes, I feel shy. My eyes just turn down. I'm madly in love with, he uses the term love, and madly in love with Babri. I'm wandering here and there to get him. And while he's disinterested in spending time with his wife, he's very interested in calling this person to his court and talking to him, writing poems for him. And the context is first marriage. It's happening exactly when he's married for the first time and he's writing these poems for this gentleman Babri. And at the same time, his mother is pushing that you need to live with you because we need to bring the successes. The empire must. So that's how he changes a bit after 6 months or so. That's really useful.
Very interesting. So I also want to understand because you're talking about how Babur becomes a ruler. He says very early on that I'm different from Ghori or Ghazni because I am going to rule this place. Can you sort of tell us from the Baburnama what kind of points do you glean? What kind of ruler did he see himself as of this land that was intrinsically foreign to his way of life?
So for Babur, he was not very sure that whether he will be able to rule or not, though he aspired to do so. And till the Battle of Panipat, still he was thinking that what's going to come up because then comes the Battle of Bayana. People talk about Battle of Khanwa, but no one talks about Battle of Bayana. So this was so terrifying for the people fighting on the side of Babur that they denied to go into the Battle of Khanwa because in fact Babur himself writes that they say that they are seeing those Rajput warriors in the dreams. They can't go.
Can you please give more references because many so-called historians constantly tom-tom about how the Mughal armies inspired dread and how we, the local Indians, the Rajputs, the other Hindu tribes or soldiers were terrified by, the invaders. That is why we lost all our battles. Please give us examples of how terrified the Mughals were when they saw the Rajput defenders.
And it's so interesting that Babur himself, because see, Babur was writing a diary. He was not sure that it will be published and we will be debating and discussing this 2024 and so on and on. It was just a personal diary to him. So he gave almost every real account. And when he talks about those dreams, he has literally spoken that they see that Rajputs are coming with two swords in their hands and they're slaughtering the soldiers. So they deny to come into the battle. And in fact, in Battle of Khanwa too, Babur was not very sure that he's going to win. And though he had looked for the omen, they believed in astrology to a large extent. And so it was only the inclusion of ammunition, etc., which there was a man named Ali Kuli who brought the technology, and he was the man behind creating all this havoc. But despite that, he writes that Rajput warriors would never stop. They would keep coming and keep coming. And in fact, the account of Battle of Khanwa should better be read through the whole Fatah Nama, what his other person wrote for him. In Fatah Nama, where it's spoken about how he has won the battle against the Kafirs, how he has won the battle against the Hindus, but at the same time they're talking about the valor of the Rajputs and the fear that we are going to lose the battle. Like it's almost seems that almost till the 75% of the battle they were not sure that they're going to win it. It's very much obvious from the narrative of the Babur Nama. So again, as far further we go, then there are a lot more skirmishes which would happen with Akbar. There is a lot with Humayun had to run for his life, and it was not so easy for him. Of course, for other factors too. And Babur had a very small extent. Say, I would say just 10 to 15% of land extent of Hindustan, and the large empire of Akbar was also point. I had calculated based on the statistics of the land which was there. So it was just 60% of the overall land of Bharat or the Hindustan which was considered back then. In fact, the Marathas at their peak had larger part than the Akbar to some extent. Now Aurangzeb really made it a bit bigger, but that was also for a very short period of time, and that madness of conquering Deccan or made him just lose his life. He lost it because of his madness for the Deccan. So, in fact, these people could never consolidate themselves, and they never saw, at the same time, I must make a point that they never saw Hindustan as their motherland. They always wanted to go back to Samarkand.
That is something that not just Babur but his successors, even as late as I think Shah Jahan said
the campaign of Balkh.
Campaign to Samarkand. So they were always harking to this, Central Asian homeland, and here we are saying that they're Indian, they're Indian.
No, never. They never considered themselves as Indians at all. You have multiple cases to prove it.
So can you also, again, one of the things that, I don't know whether this is WhatsApp University or not, but one of the things that we keep hearing that Babur writes in Babur Nama is that apart from mangoes, he hates pretty much everything about India. The melons are better in Samarkand, the grapes are better, the climate is better, the water is better, people are better, everything is better. So when you were reading the Babur Nama, what does he say about India?
Oh, he loved the riches of India. So that's the most important thing, that even in the time of now, where your job is, that's where you stay. It doesn't matter that what water you're drinking or how saline the water, you will stay there. So he in fact criticized the food people too. In fact, he did not like, he talks about the aesthetics of Indians, that it's terrible. Indians have
aesthetics.
Yes. But it also gives you a lot of hint that it's a very vague diary writing, that at times say that 7 days back you wrote something, you may contradict yourself. And I come to this from a point that, like we are told that they gave us architecture, they gave us biryani, they gave us learning and everything. Okay, let it be there. Now, the biggest architecture what they still have is the tomb of the mausoleum of Amir Taimur. That's the biggest one. That is smaller than the size of the Taj Mahal. And Babur himself mentioned that they had to call 100 artisans from India to build that.